my son Parker with our first fish of the morning, largemouth bass. We're gonna try to shoot a multi-species show today. Right now we're using multiple techniques, all in the same lake, all on the same day. Right now we're on a deep weed edge along the drop-off off of a reef, fishing jigs with live shiners and soft plastic night crawlers. Looking for walleyes, pike, and bass here most likely. Then we'll look specifically for some bass and pike later, and then for some sunfish and crappies as well. So welcome to this episode of Fishing and Hunting the North Country. And multi-species, multiple techniques on the same lake in the same day. Stay with us. And second fish of the day. Another bass. Grab that jig and that shiner. Smaller one this time, but still fun. Good job, buddy. Still working that deep weed edge with a jig and a shiner, and we'll probably try a jig and a soft plastic power bait or Gulp night crawler as well. And my son's the hot stick here. His third bass in about 10 minutes doing this. Normally we catch bass, pike, and walleyes doing this. So far just bass. How do you hit that jig? Pretty good? Oh, good. Hopefully you can get a walleye or two here, maybe a pike. Oh, and my son just had another bass on. How'd that one hit, buddy?
That was even more aggressive than the last one.
He came flying straight up and jumped and threw it, didn't he? Yeah, that's how it goes sometimes. All right, so the rig we're using here along the deep weed edge, about 18 to 20 feet, we're just using a round lead head jig. This one happens to be a VMC Moon Eye, 1/4 ounce or 3/8 ounce to get down 20 feet there, depending on wind. And then you can see I've got a little over a foot liter of fluorocarbon. That's 10-pound test Berkley Vanish fluorocarbon, tied to a small barrel swivel that then is tied to the main line, which is 8-pound test Berkley Fireline. And we're just using a nice, this is a 6'3" St. Croix Icon series rod. 6 foot to 6'6" is a good vertical jig fishing rod for what we were doing. It's a medium power, fast action, and then the fire line's on that's a Pflueger President medium-sized spinning reel. Pretty simple gear, that's all you need. The swivel here takes a little line twist out as that jig's hopping and bouncing around. And then the fluorocarbon, a little bit of stealth. Might even use a longer leader if you're in clearer water than we are. And a little more abrasion resistant. And then we are just hooking shiner minnows in the mouth, back through the throat, and then up out of the top of the head, what I would call between the shoulders, kind of back behind the head. Holds that minnow straight in there and doesn't kill the minnow right away. And then we're just gently lifting it, dropping it, checking bottom, lifting it, fluttering it, letting the minnow flop a little bit with this fire line and this nice sensitive rod. You can feel that minnow tail kind of go crazy. You start swimming when something's looking at him. You can see our conditions around, not an ideal. We didn't get any walleyes, not an ideal walleye kind of day today. Flat, calm, and sunny, but we thought we'd give it a try early and see if we get a couple. Usually we get pike here too. Today it was just lots and lots of bass. So we're gonna move on and try some other techniques, target some other species. Hey there. So we moved up shallower on top of a reef with weeds all around it and then some open area and harder bottom in the middle. And I pitched out a topwater bait and second cast. Bass flew up on it. This is a little more topwater bass conditions than walleye conditions. Let him go and I'll show you the rig. And it's just a Rapala skitter prop. and kind of the shad colors, a little silver, black, blue, white belly. It's a torpedo shape and has that propeller on the back, and when you throw it out, you let it sit and you give it a pull and the propeller spins and you get kind of a chugging sound and a little bit of disturbance. Let it sit. I let that sit on the pause. I actually turned around to talk to my son about something and heard the splash, and he took it. Hey there, I got something pretty nice here. You get down into the weeds. It looks bigger than it is because you got into the weeds. I think it's
Pike.
Pike, yeah. Not a bad pike though. You slam using a spinner bait. I'll show that to you in a minute. Got the weeds off him and he got a little wild. I'm going to try to grab him here. Hand up in here. There we go. Alright, I'll get him off. We'll get a picture of him and release him, and then I'll show you the bait. Right, I can get it off. He chopped it. There we go. Okay, we'll do a picture. 32-inch pike there. And away he goes. I'll show you the bait here while I'm down here. Bring the weeds off at first. This is a Berkley Power Bait spinner bait. There we go, the weeds off. This one's a white chartreuse and blue with a gold willow leaf and a silver Colorado. It's a 1/2 ounce. Just buzzing that over the tops of this cabbage. So that's so far all bass, but 3 different techniques now: the jig and minnow, the topwater bait, and the spinner bait. I'm using a 14-pound Berkley Fireline on a St. Croix Mojo bass with a Abu Garcia bait cast reel, and then again I have a barrel swivel to help with twist, and then I have a 20-pound fluorocarbon leader just for less tangles on the cast and a little more abrasion resistance, especially for pike teeth. Hey there, switched another technique, another tactic. Got a small male bluegill there. Hopefully there's bigger ones around. Targeting sunfish and crappies now, and as the day grows on and it gets high skies here, even the bass and pike will go after these smaller baits better. This is based off the old Beetle Spin. It's a jig spinner. It's a 16th ounce BMC Moon Eye jig with a number 1 size jig spinner. This one happens to be a Cabela's. Lots of companies make them. And then I have a 2-inch Berkley Power Bait Ripple Shad on there. You could use a minnow on there. You could use a twister tail. I'm using a St. Croix Panfish Series 7-foot ultralight. That's a ultralight power and a fast action or moderate fast action. And I've got 4-pound test Berkley Fireline on the small Fluger President spinning reel. And then again, I have that barrel swivel tied to the Fireline, and then I've got about 6-7 inches of fluorocarbon on here. Again, Berkley Advantage fluorocarbon. This is 8-pound test, just for a little more abrasion resistance going over the weeds and when pike hit it and bass hit it. And then I've got that tied to a little fast snap that I can then clip onto this bait or whatever other baits I want. We're just slow rolling this over the tops of cabbage on top of a shallow reef that comes up out of deep water looking for sunfish and crap. Hey, continuing with interesting multi-species here at Topwater Bass Lure. Skitter prop from Rapala, and a nice bluegill came up and drilled it. So you just never know what you're gonna get. And my son just got a small pike here on the spinner bait. Keep coming up with a little bit of everything here. Nice largemouth bass. We're gonna try to use them a little bit of everything. We've got a little bit of cloud this morning. First thing, low light, calm conditions. So I'm pitching a topwater. It's a Rapala skitter prop in the shad color, and a nice solid 17-inch largemouth bass came up and just exploded. We're going to do multiple species, or I'm sorry, multiple techniques for today. Everything spinner baits, square bill crankbaits, jerk baits, topwater baits, and the topwater gets us a nice largemouth bass. Hey, got another bass here. Got a couple little ones slurp the topwater in. A little bit nicer one here. This one hit it a little harder. It's 4 in about the last 5 minutes on the topwater. My son and I were just talking about it. You don't have to be shallow to use topwater. I got good pliers. This one got hooked up good. We are pitching this over the tops of cabbage that are in about 8-9 feet of water. So those bass are likely down in the cabbage ways, so that those fish could be coming up 6, 7, 8 feet to hit that. We got calm conditions. The water is relatively clear. So again, you don't have to be in a foot or two to fish topwater. I brought smallmouth bass up 10 feet before on a topwater. Hey, I'm talking about multi-species, beautiful pumpkin seed sunfish here drilled a spinnerbait. That's a nice pumpkin seed there. We'll get a photo of him and let him go. Hey there, switched up tactics, pitching a jig spinner for sunfish and crappies, and got a bass. Just shows you that depending where you're at and what conditions are like, you can see we're sunny and calm here. Sometimes small baits will catch predatory fish. That's not a big bass, but big for that bait, and 4-pound test line on an ultralight rod. So we're still catching a little bit of everything here. Okay, my son's got one here. Oh, nice bluegill. Drilled the jig spinner. Continuing with a different technique here, catching different species. We've caught fish now so far on these jig spinners, on spinner baits, on jerk baits, on square bill crankbaits, on topwater baits, and on a jig tipped with a shiner. And we've got pike, bass, sunfish, crappies. Nice job, buddy. Good one.
Yeah, that one he missed it the first time, but then he came back for it and got it.
Oh, that's good. Aggressive then. If you were gonna keep any fish to eat, that'd have been a beautiful one there, but we don't need any fish right now. Good job, pal. Just a little one, but we got another species. We got a smallmouth bass. Some of these West Metro lakes have smallmouth bass too, and he hit that jig spinner fishing for catching sunnies. No crappies yet, but sunnies. And we caught a couple largemouth, and now a smallmouth. Jumped about 6 times, so we kind of suspected that's what it was. So add another species to the list. All right, we got another species to add to the mix here. On that jig spinner, I said it was good for panfish. We got some sunnies, now we got a crappie on there. Little guy, we'll let that one go, but just to add to our multiple species today.